What's up, guys? How's it going? Welcome back to the channel. This is Cam, a Stoic Soldier. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope everyone's having a fantastic weekend. Happy Saturday. Hope you all have had a great week so far. And in other obvious news, got me a new little toy, the gadget that's been long overdue for the channel. There was some issues with the order, a few little delays here and there, but hopefully this works a lot better. Thank you guys for the patience. Anyway, without further ado, jumping into the video today. When it comes to applying philosophy to your success, whether it be Stoic philosophy, Taoist philosophy of the idea of not forcing, for those who are not familiar with Wu Wei, in ancient Chinese, that actually translates to not forcing. Well, more specifically, not doing, but they actually mean to say to not force anything, to allow things to happen organically, allow things to happen naturally, as I'm sure we're all familiar with. And that is 110% on point, especially when it comes to achieving goals. Now, they always talk about in the hustle culture, you got to grind, you got to give it your everything, you got to go balls to the wall, of course, as we had talked about in the past. But again, long term, that's more of a detriment than anything. If you're thinking for longevity purposes, that is more than likely to lead to burnout than anything. So you need to do things in increments. You need to start with something that you can commit to. Start with something simple. As they always say, what do we hear nonstop? Simplicity is key. Whether it's about you building your business, or whether you want to get into shape, or you want to start investing, everything starts in increments. Everything needs to start minimal. That way, you can commit to it. That way, whatever you do, you feel comfortable. See, I was actually listening to the audiobook known as the Tao Te Ching, which is essentially kind of the encyclopedia of Taoist philosophy, and it resonates a lot with Stoicism. Matter of fact, I was actually studying Taoism long before I really got into Stoic philosophy, but as I said, both of them resonate with one another because both require keeping a calm state of mind. Both of them require not looking to external sources for your success, happiness, and or well-being, and especially for your inner peace. They both have their similarities. And so in that book, the Tao Te Ching, one thing that really stuck out to me is when they talked about the idea of the master. Now, to me personally, and I'm sure to many others, there's no such thing as really mastering anything, even beyond the level 10 or the level 100 or the max level. There's always a little bit more that you can do. There's always something that you could fine tune. There's always something that you can make just a little bit better and a little bit more efficient. You could find ways to use less effort and still end up getting better results. Minimal effort, maximum results, as Michael J. White says. Which is essentially what the master does. What the master does for every level that he surpasses, he makes that previous level look effortless. He makes it look as simple as can possibly be. He does it without any strain. He does it without any discomfort, any difficulty at all. So let's say that you're in the gym, you're putting on a new set of weights that you don't usually do. By the end of however many reps you do, you feel that soreness, you feel that tightness, you feel that strain at the end of each one. You feel that you're still pushing yourself to do so. That's great that you're there, but at that point, is it safe to say that you're ready to move on and add more weight on there? Probably not, because that's when you're more than likely to injure yourself, or more than likely just not be able to pick it up to begin with. So once you get to a point where whatever amount of reps that you do, it feels completely just like there's no struggle whatsoever. And more importantly, you can do it no matter what day it is. If you had a long, hard day at work, if you're tired, if you're sore, if you're just not in the right state of mind and you don't feel properly motivated, you're not incentivized to go out and do it. If even on those days where you're just operating at negative 20%, that you could still do it, at that point, it's safe to say, again, we don't master anything because there's always something more we can do, but you've gotten as close to mastering or perfecting it as you can. You've gotten to a point where you can do it with comfort. You can do it with total and complete ease and no struggle. At that point, it's safe to say, okay, now I can try something new. I don't want to stay here forever because I'm just going to get bored, and I want to challenge myself, but still doing it within reason to the point that I'm not just jumping the gun. I'm still doing it to where it's an easy transition going from one stage to the next, but in incremental steps. I'm not taking this huge gargantuan leap that's just going to leave me completely disoriented and discombobulated. I'm not jumping into a completely new element. So, master, or again, come as close as you possibly can to mastering that beginner stage or whatever stage you're at. It starts with a little bit of extra effort, but over time, it needs to become simpler and simpler. You start by understanding what you're doing first, and then you find ways to make it as efficient as possible to where even when you feel completely overwhelmed, you're still able to accomplish it. You're still able to get that job done. That is what the Taoists regard as the real master. Same thing in your line of work. When you start at something that's entry level and you work your way up to something that's management or administrative, and you're at a point where you could literally handle just about anyone's job, no matter how many people call out, no matter how many people are probably inexperienced or are new to that industry and who don't have nearly the capacity to operate at the same pace that you do or other people like you do. And you're still able to juggle that along with your own job. At that point, now you know in your gut that you're able to move on to the next level. You're able to start looking for something a little bit further beyond that. Of course, not necessarily jumping to corporate, but to the degree to where you could take on a little bit more if need be. That means you're at the point, or you're even getting to the point where you can start saying that you're comfortable with your job. There's no more second guessing as to whether or not you can handle it. There's nobody doubting you. Everyone knows that when you're in that position that you can handle it no matter what. That is when you know that you're solid. And that's a great feeling to have. That is the ultimate state of inner peace, when you know that no matter what, I can handle this with ease. It's going to come to me naturally. So, whatever you're doing, learn it. Have a little bit of pressure in between, not too much to the point where it ends up discouraging you, but pressure yourself a little bit as you go along to build that resilience, to build that toughness. And as you start looking back every now and then, you'll start to see that you're struggling less and less and less. Okay? As they talk about, you don't want to constantly look back. You don't constantly want to look over your shoulder at what you were. But it is also a good marker to know where you are now and to see how much progress you made. Because ultimately, just by maintaining some degree of consistency in our journeys, we are going to make some degree of progress. No matter who you are or what it is that you're doing, you are always going to end up being a better version of yourself just by staying on top of it. Just by maintaining that routine, a solid routine that has become simpler and simpler over time. That's how you know that you're stepping into a newer version of you. And by looking at that, it's actually going to encourage you in realizing that I actually can do this, that I am more capable than I gave myself credit for. And that also comes with you doing it not every single day, because you're just going to end up distracting yourself, but every so often it's good to do. One of my favorite actors, Idris Elba, actually, he had this great speech that I watched back in 2016. Yeah, it was called Work Hard, Sleep Less. And ironically, even though, regardless of the title of that video, one thing that he said that really stuck out in between is that even when you're working as hard as possible, even when you're just putting your head down and going straight through the grind, you still also need to find that rhythm. You still got to find that time to pace yourself. You still got to find some degree of consistency with what you're doing, no matter how big or small it is, because even though you want to stay with what you're doing, you also don't want to end up gassing out. And one thing that he said that stuck with me the most was that people find themselves incrementally checking how far they've gone, which long term is a recipe for disaster. They're looking over and looking over and looking over their shoulder. They're looking at their progress every second. And again, that's a distraction, for one thing, more important than anything. And secondly, you don't notice the transformation as much. It's like watching an infant go into a toddler, into an adolescent, and then into a teen, and then grow into an adult, and then so on and so forth. That's a change you could see over time. That person is still recognizable from when they were in that infant stage. Whereas if you have just seen them in their infant stage and then you don't see them for years and years and years at a time, and then all of a sudden it's this grown man, that's going to become a lot more overwhelming. That's going to be a lot more of a significant metamorphosis right there. Why? Because you stepped away and then you turned around after a long period of time without checking and seeing the progress day by day by day, second by second, and you ended up surprising yourself. Same thing goes with weight loss. You're not going to notice it overnight. It just comes with you, again, putting your head down and just falling in love with that process. Process over product, as Inky Johnson always says. And you'll come to surprise yourself after a couple months, and you'll see that you're a lot better and a lot more fit and a lot healthier than where you were before. And one way or another, that is going to drive you. That is going to motivate you in seeing that progress is in fact possible. Because lack of progress is what really sets people back when it comes to achieving what they want to do. So, just a little something to keep in mind. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you guys got a lot out of that today. That's all the time that we have. But thank you guys again so much for joining me. For those who are supporting the channel, thank you again so much. Those who are new, welcome. Hope you guys got a lot out of it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I would really love it if you guys could support the channel. And again, any requests that you guys have, any comments, I'm 100% open to that. And any feedback, anything I can do to help you guys out in the future with topics like this or similar or adjacent to it, then I'm more than open to it. And hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care. Stoic Soldier out.